I still remember that afternoon as if it happened yesterday. I was standing by the resort's infinity pool, sunglasses perched on my nose, casually sipping a pineapple mocktail, when my cousin Marcus strutted up in his designer shorts and cocky grin. He didn't even bother to greet me. He just looked at me like I was wallpaper in this place meant for real vacationers, and said, "Wow, Lisa, you're really here? I thought you said you couldn't afford a week at the beach." His words stung, an echo of everything I'd heard at family reunions. She's still renting. She can't travel. I'd been in a borrowed bikini for 2 minutes, and already they assumed I was broke. My chest tightened. I wanted to tell him exactly how many zeros were in my bank account, but instead I forced a polite smile. "Actually," I said, raising my mocktail, "I paid for this entire stay in cash." He blinked, confused. "Paid in cash? You're kidding, right?" I nodded. "Booked the entire resort, every room, every villa, front desk, spa, everything." He stared at me like I was speaking gibberish. In that moment, all those years, of feeling small around my family condensed into a single point. I didn't say another word. I walked past him toward the front desk. Every eye in the lobby was on me. Some in disbelief, some in envy, a few smirking as if they'd always known. I was bluffing, but I didn't care. I had what I needed. The receptionist looked up, startled. "Ms. Langley?" she said softly. I nodded and handed her an envelope fat with cash bundles. She blinked, swallowed, then counted each stack. I watched her eyes widen and her jaw drop. Every assumption about me, my finances, my success, my place in this family, cracked like a broken mirror. Later that evening, I walked back to my private villa, my villa, while my relatives milled about the courtyard. They whispered my name, pointed in hushed tones. I could practically feel their minds reeling. How could Lisa, the supposed broke cousin, have shelled out nearly $1 million in cash? 5 years ago, no one would have believed it. Back then, I was a junior event coordinator at a boutique firm, barely scraping by, taking night classes in hospitality management, living paycheck to paycheck in a cramped studio. My parents had died when I was 19. My brother, Justin, moved to Chicago to work in finance. My sister, Margot, chased her next big break in Los Angeles. I was the odd one out. No Ivy League degree, no trust fund, just persistence. At 21, I started interning at Eastside Events, a tiny wedding planning shop. I still owed credit card bills from college. Every weekend, I schlepped tables, arranged centerpieces, fetched coffee, answered phones at 6 a.m. On weekdays, I took classes in corporate hospitality and cost analysis. When my instructor asked for a volunteer to present on revenue models, my palms sweated, but I raised my hand. If I could learn to speak on a podium, maybe I could learn to earn more than minimum wage. By 24, I was lead event manager for Eastside's largest corporate clients, hotels, tech startups, even a fashion conglomerate. I negotiated contracts, coordinated catering, and saved the company from logistical nightmares. Once, during a massive Vegas convention, a keynote speaker's flight was canceled at 3 a.m., and I personally chartered a private jet to get him there on time, costing us a fortune but preserving our reputation. The next morning, my boss handed me a bonus check. "You're the reason we didn't lose that account," he said. That was the first time anyone truly valued me. I took that bonus and poured it back into myself. I enrolled in online luxury brand management courses and started freelancing, creating marketing packages for upscale resorts, and negotiating vendor rates for high-end weddings on the French Riviera. By 27, ramen dinners were replaced, with invested salary in a small but growing portfolio of rate properties I'd discovered. I funneled every spare dollar into that fund, and it grew faster than I expected. At 30, I left Eastside Events to launch LuxLink Strategies, a consultancy specializing in luxury resort openings and high-net-worth client experiences. People thought I was crazy. "You're starting a business with no connections, no capital, no pedigree?" they asked. But I had something they didn't: relentless determination, a decade of hospitality contacts, and a small nest egg. The first 2 years, I lived off ramen again, only now in a cramped office above a laundromat. Between client dinners and network events, I barely slept. One night, writing a pitch for a Miami spa at 2 a.m., my laptop died, so I walked 2 miles to Starbucks for reliable Wi-Fi, my hand cramping from gripping Post-it notes. I felt like I was clawing out of a pit, hoping to see daylight. Slowly, word got around. I turned a failing Aspen ski resort into that season's hottest destination. I consulted for a Napa vineyard. Wine tastings sold out weeks in advance. Each win was modest. A small contract signature here, a thank you email there. But each laid another brick in my foundation. By the time family rumors circulated, I'd sold my REIT shares and invested in undervalued boutique resorts around the Pacific Rim, always under shell companies to mask my involvement. I never wanted fans. I just wanted to build something real and let it grow without my hands in every detail. By 35, LuxLink had 10 full-time employees. My consulting fees doubled annually. I still answered 6 a.m. calls, but now from a private number. I juggled crisis management, like when a tsunami warning shut down a beachfront property's reservation system at 4 a.m. I stayed on a satellite phone until guests were rerouted. They started calling me the fixer. Quietly, I amassed enough capital to make something big happen. A few months ago, I saw Coral Sands Resort, a secluded Caribbean property languishing at 20% occupancy. The owners were desperate to sell. I negotiated a cash deal, closed at a steep discount, and spent 4 months renovating. Infinity pools, spa overhaul, staff retraining. That's how I ended up here, 3 days before the big family reunion, standing by the pool while Marcus treated me like a charity case. After I paid in cash, I let myself into the executive wing: polished marble floors, high ceilings, ornate, sconces casting warm light, lush eucalyptus scent in the air. I walked toward the manager's office, heart calm, each step deliberate. Lena, the general manager, stood when she saw me. "Ms. Langley," she said, voice steady but wide-eyed. "I didn't expect you so soon. I can't have my family wandering the halls thinking I'm here on a timeshare," I replied, sliding the envelope across her desk. "This is the balance for the entire resort: rooms, villas, restaurants, for the week, in cash." Lena took a breath, counted the stacks mechanically, then met my gaze. "This covers everything?" "Every last penny," I said. That weekend, the resort was ours. My extended family roamed tennis courts, restaurants, the yacht dock, the spa. They booked boating excursions, horseback rides, private cabanas at sunrise. From the outside, it looked like the family had rented it. But inside, I felt vindicated. Each splash of Marcus's paddleboard, each Instagram story of my aunt in a cabana, I felt it as proof that everything I'd built was real. That first night, we gathered for dinner in open-air pavilions overlooking the ocean. My 91-year-old grandmother, in a pastel headscarf, squinted at me. "So, you're not exactly broke," she said, bemused. I smiled. "Guess not." She studied me, as if seeing beyond old rumors. "I wondered why you never came to reunions," she said. "Thought you resented us." "I just had my reasons," I replied. The cousins spooning ceviche shot curious glances. My Aunt Tessa passed me grilled lobster and leaned in. "Don't leave me hanging. How did you afford all this?" I took a slow sip of wine, humidity rolling off my shoulders. "I bought this place," I said, gesturing toward White Sands. 6 months ago. Spent the last quarter renovating. Everything you see, from the spa down to the cabana tiles, it's mine." They went silent, Forks midair, jaws dropped. Marcus's mouth fell open. Justin's eyebrows shot up. Margot's phone slipped from her hand. Only the ocean waves lapping at the shore broke the hush. Then my grandmother let out a gasp. Is that why you never showed up after losing most of your savings a few years back? I nodded. Lost most in a bad venture, set me back. But I kept working, consulting resorts, investing in real estate, saving every cent. One day I had enough. I thought of my father, who died 15 years ago, telling me, real wealth is built quietly. Family doesn't always see it, but your work will make them notice. I felt him there that night, a gentle nudge. The conversation shifted from gossip to questions. How did you find coral sands? How did you negotiate in cash? What are your plans for reopening? I answered in concise, animated detail. Photos of renovations, local farmers hired for farm-to-table dinners, the spa's new hydrotherapy suite, the yacht flagged for sunset sails. Younger cousins exchanged amazed grins. One whispered, I had no idea Lil Lisa was this powerful. By midnight, everyone knew I was no longer the broke cousin. But I wasn't there for applause. I was there to reclaim my place. The next morning, as the sun glazed the horizon in fiery orange, I took a solo walk along the beach. My phone buzzed. FaceTime from my brother, Justin. Lily, he said softly, Mom's hearing is failing fast. We need help. A pang shot through my chest. Mom's hearing loss had started 2 years ago. Since Dad died, she had no steady support. My brother was in Chicago, Margot in LA, both swamped. Come here, I said. He blinked. You mean, move in? I nodded. I'll handle her day to day. You and Margot can fly in when you can. Tears filled his eyes. Lily, you'd do that? Family's family, I said. You never know when you'll need someone. We hung up, and I watched foam crash on sand. One truth crystallized: money alone wasn't enough. I had the means, but my work wasn't done. I needed stronger bonds. That afternoon, the family arranged lunch under palm fronds. Marcus slid onto the bench across from me. Voice small. Look, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said what I did. I didn't realize. I studied him through a breeze that ruffled my hair. You think it's all about money? I asked. He hesitated. I thought you were playing it safe, that you'd never take big risks. I didn't know you were behind this. I let it settle. It's not just risk, I said. It's strategy, patience, and yes, some luck, but mostly strategy. He nodded. I get that now. I shifted the conversation. Hey, let's grab a cabana after lunch. I want to show you our spy. Design notes. As the sun climbed, I felt cautious optimism. Family was finally seeing me differently. But a small voice reminded me, I couldn't be complacent. This vacation was more than a getaway. It was my statement. Late that night, silver moonlight spilled across the ocean and my phone rang. Margot. Something's wrong with the books, she said, breathless. There was a weird $50,000 deposit in Mom's account. Then it vanished. And an email just went out from your address to a charity asking for a huge donation. I never sent it. A cold knot formed in my stomach. That frozen dread was familiar. An email glitch I'd seen during my corporate days. Someone inside using my credentials to send a forged request. I'd dealt with sabotage before. I didn't like whiff of it. Again. Are you okay? I asked. I don't know, she whispered. Justin's flying in tomorrow. Can you talk to him? I will. I hung up and went inside to my villa's desk, heart pounding. In my inbox sat the outgoing message to that charity, my signature at, the bottom header showing it was sent from a shared resort terminal near the lobby. No one here knew my personal login. This was inside work, an attempt to discredit me, to make my family and the bank question my ownership of Coral Sands. By morning, I found the source. A resort back-office clerk had been bribed. He accessed a shared workstation, sent that email, under my credentials, hoping to sow chaos. At breakfast, I sat beside my brother. I told him everything, step by step. He listened, horrified. "I need you to fly out early," I said. "We have to secure her accounts, lock down my access points here, start an audit." He nodded, gratitude in his eyes. "I'll be on the next flight." That morning, I woke earlier than anyone, slipped into a white linen shirt and headed to the admin office. The receptionist looked at me warily. "Ms. Langley," she said quietly, "is everything okay?" I nodded. "I need full access to all transaction logs from the last 72 hours, and show me who logged into my corporate account from any resort terminal." We pulled up audit trails and surveillance footage. It took 15 minutes to find the culprit's login, Cashier 02, and the timestamp matched the forged email. We traced it to a young clerk, mid-20s, wiry, who'd been paid off by a local landlord. I felt that old corporate drive. Proof, accountability, resolution. When we confronted him in the staff lounge, his voice cracked as he admitted it. He'd been promised money to sabotage me, nothing more. I gave a curt nod. "Return the money, all of it, and cooperate with the authorities." He complied under guard. That night, at dinner under lantern-lit tables by the sea, my family gathered again. Justin gave me a silent nod of thanks. Margot raised her wine glass. "To Lisa," she said, "for not letting anyone take advantage of her." The cousins who laughed at my broke label now looked at me with respect. I answered their questions in measured tones. No arrogance, just calm confidence born from every hard-won victory. The cash payment, midnight audits, triumph over sabotage. As dinner ended, I excused myself to the balcony. The warm breeze carried salt and hibiscus. My phone buzzed, FaceTime from Dad. Though his hair was gray, his eyes still held that commanding presence. "I heard about everything that's happened here," he said. I inhaled, guilt mixing with relief. "Hi, Dad. Is everything settled?" he asked. I nodded. "The clerk was arrested. The money returned. Mom's account's secure. Family knows the truth." A long pause. Then he said softly, "I underestimated you. I thought since you never spoke at reunions you were content. I was wrong." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Dad, you've shown more leadership in 48 hours than some of us have in a lifetime. You protected the family's name, secured the resort, and stood up for what's right. I'm proud of you." My voice caught. "Thanks." "There's something else," he continued. "I've started paperwork. I want you on the board of our family foundation. We've been adrift. I need your vision." My chest tightened at the mention of Mom. I blinked. "I'd be honored." "But there's one condition," he said. I waited. "No more disappearing, for months at a time. Family needs you around." The sting of old wounds surfaced, remembering holidays I'd skipped, pitying looks, marred conversations. But then I felt the warm ocean breeze, moonlight glittering on waves, and I thought of the renovations, the staff who now looked up to me, Mom's future, and the foundation needing fresh vision. I realized this vacation, what started as an insult in the pool, was my turning point. "I won't disappear, Dad," I said, voice steady. "But I will do things my way. I've learned that quiet competence can be mistaken for weakness. From now on, I won't let anyone confuse the two." He sighed, half laughing. "I wouldn't have it any other way." We hung up, and I leaned against the railing, looking at lights dancing on the water. For the first time in years, I felt belonging, in family and in my work. The next morning, as dawn's golden rays spread over Coral Sands, My family gathered before checkout. Marcus approached me by the pool, extending a tentative hand. "Thank you for everything," he said softly. I shook his hand. "Just remember, never underestimate someone you think is broke." He nodded earnestly, no trace of his old arrogance. Justin and Margot flanked him, both smiling. I hugged Grandma last. She whispered, "You did good, child. You did good." I held her, then stepped back. "Love you, Gran." As their van wound down the road away from the resort, I felt relief that the whirlwind was over, and quiet excitement for what lay ahead. That afternoon, I convened a meeting in the grand conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the turquoise sea. I told the Coral Sands staff I would stay to run the property indefinitely. I shared my vision: transform Coral Sands into more than a vacation spot, make it a community hub for local artisans, a training ground for hospitality students, and a destination balancing luxury with sustainability. Their applause was genuine. They'd seen my tenacity: cash payment, all-nighters, audits, triumph over sabotage. Now they were part of my mission. That evening, after the last staff member left, I walked down to the beach alone. Waves whispered secrets I'd never known. I dug my toes into warm sand and closed my eyes. I thought of my past, the grief of losing my parents, the grind of unpaid internships, nights in that laundromat office. I thought of the reunion where I was dismissed as broke. I felt gratitude for every low moment that drove me to prove them wrong. A lone pelican skimmed the water. I felt quiet peace. My life had become more than surviving. I was thriving. I understood Dad's words. Family doesn't always see real wealth until it's built quietly. I opened my eyes and looked at the crescent moon. I whispered, "We did it." Tomorrow, I'd wake not as that broke cousin, but as a woman who built her empire one careful step at a time, someone my family could no longer ignore. Because sometimes, to show them the truth, you have to show up unannounced. You have to pay in cash. And you have to stand tall when they least expect it.